Hi, ladies. I can't believe it. Someone needs to pinch me because we are back with season two of the Rooted Mama podcast. We are so back. Welcome to the new season, everyone. I just have to say that originally I had planned to kick things off a little differently, and I had an interview featuring my favorite doula. But before we do a deep dive into season two, I feel like I really need to get something off my chest. So, as you've probably noticed, we're back, but with a new name, the Rooted Mama. And not just a rebrand of the name and style, it's actually a shift in the entire mission of the podcast and the movement around it. And I couldn't really move forward without explaining why. This change actually comes from lessons learned through my first season of Blossoming Mama, which was my original podcast name. But it also comes from interactions that I had with women who were navigating motherhood and preparing for it. So when I started this project, it was called The Blossoming Mama, right? And at the time, it made a lot of sense. The goal was and still is to help women transition into motherhood. And I focus on women who weren't moms yet because that's where I was when I started my journey. And I really went from knowing nothing to really being like a pregnancy and birth junkie. And friends and coworkers would come to me with questions. And, I'd be really eager to share everything that I had learned along the way. Someone eventually encouraged me to start this and put all of my resources online. And so that's how Blossoming Mama began. Now, at the same time that I was getting started with Blossoming Mama, I was surrounded by women who were pregnant, and some of them were first-time moms, whereas some of them were seasoned mothers. But all of them were navigating the traditional medical system during their pregnancy. And knowing what I know, I worked really hard to share resources and steer them away from unnecessary interventions. But really, what it seemed like was that everything that I was saying was going in one ear and out the other. And that's when I realized something, that preparing for motherhood isn't just about information. You can learn all the facts, but without the wisdom to apply the knowledge that you've learned, it doesn't actually matter. This isn't just an information gap that women of this age are suffering from. It's a spiritual crisis. And many women don't just lack knowledge about motherhood. They don't understand themselves. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of who they are as people. And I'm not trying to bash them because I know this from personal experience. I've lived this. If you follow me for a while, then you already know this and you know this story. But for anyone new here, I had a miserable postpartum experience. It was rough with my first child. I felt out of control, and after a birth that was really sabotaged by the medical system, I was riddled with fear and anxiety. I was constantly questioning if I was a good mom. I relied on, pediatricians and Google and other people to guide my motherhood journey instead of trusting myself. And as postpartum continued, in those first few months, I just overworked myself. I ignored all of my cues. I gaslit all of my needs. And I was just trying to meet the needs of my baby and be a good mom. I had such a high standard of being the perfect mother that I even held my husband to those same standards, as a father. And I just felt like he should do what I could do. And after he couldn't, I just started kind of making up for his shortcomings and just exhausting myself. So 6 months in, I developed what essentially was an autoimmune disorder. And it was painful and rough, but I eventually healed myself. And a lot of it had to do with focusing on those emotional, mental, and spiritual comings. And when I finally addressed all of those and confronted them, stopped running from them, all of my physical symptoms disappeared. I kid you not, they disappeared. So when I started Blossoming Mama, my goal was to help women avoid the same mistakes that I made. I wanted them to be the healed version of myself that I was now. I really wanted to educate these women and hopefully try to prevent this very common cycle that I fell into, but that so many women fall into, where you don't know anything about pregnancy or birth or motherhood. And then you just join into this system that is traumatizing women, where they're using unnecessary interventions and they're just kind of like sending them through the ringer. And then you come out of it with a somewhat traumatic or like seriously traumatic birth experience. Then you go into postpartum and you often just ignore all of your cues. You struggle with breastfeeding if you even attempt it. And by the end of it, you end up with a terrible postpartum mental health condition. I think it's somewhere between like 40 and 60% of mothers in the 2020s are coming out of postpartum with a mental health condition, and it's horrible. I felt like I just kept seeing the same script play out over and over and over again, and it just made me want to quit, if I'm honest. But then I got a message, and this message from a friend changed everything. It transformed this passion project into a ministry. I'm pretty sure she's not even planning to become a mom anytime soon. What she told me was this. She said, "Thank you for sharing a different version of motherhood, a different picture of motherhood." She said that every time she saw a mom, even if they were her friend, they looked stressed out and they made motherhood look terrible. But when she saw my content, she said it gave her hope. And that's when I realized, even if 99% of women see the stuff that I post or hear my message in person and completely ignore it, if just one woman actually hears it and changes her path, it's worth it to me. And that's because healing a mother heals her entire family. A woman who is mentally strong and emotionally stable will navigate all of the chaos of motherhood with discernment and confidence. She'll trust her intuition. She'll make decisions that align with her values. She'll parent from a place of peace and not of fear. And that's what it means to be a rooted mama. This is a spiritual shift that not only helps incoming mothers, but also women who are deep in the trenches of diapers and Legoland. It's never too late to heal. And it wasn't easy for me. It definitely wasn't easy, but it was so worth it. It changed the trajectory of my life, and it healed not only me, but it healed my entire family. So with all that being said, I'm switching gears. Instead of focusing solely on the information around pregnancy and birth and newborn care, I'm prioritizing helping women heal, grow, and reconnect to their innate intuition. Because if you're grounded in who you are, you can face not only motherhood, but life with so much clarity and confidence. And that's what this new season is about. I want to push women past just doing what they're told or doing what they think others want them to do or doing what's right as a mother in this world. I want to push you to be the best version of yourself, whatever that is. When it comes to pregnancy and birth, you don't have to have the pregnancy or birth that I had. Just have the one that you feel good about. Have the one where you feel empowered at the end. Have the transition into motherhood where you're not immediately seeking a therapist or a medication or someone to help save you from yourself or someone to help save you from this terrible postpartum. Postpartum can be so beautiful, and motherhood can be so, so beautiful. And right now, it's so tainted. It's so ugly. And I don't blame women out there who aren't mothers yet, who don't want to be mothers, because the image of motherhood that is being presented is awful. And we have to do something. And it starts with each and every one of us making a choice. And that's before motherhood. So if there's anyone out there, any mother who's listening, please share this episode. This is so much bigger than like someone on Instagram, trying to do funny reels to get attention. This could be a movement into something big. Like I can see it clear as day. And if you share this vision, so like if you're a mom and you're listening to this, I'm giving you some hope that there is a path forward that doesn't look so scary right now. And what I would like for you to do, what I want you to do to help me is share this episode with someone who you love, who's not a mom yet, but just tell them that it's worth listening to, because I can only do so much. I can only do so many reels to like get their attention, 30 seconds here, 60 seconds there. They'll never fully understand how important it is to pay attention to motherhood before until they hear a message like this or they experience it for themselves. And right now, the way that women are experiencing it for themselves for the first time is miserable. So if we can get to them before, let's at least try. I know there's no way that you could prepare for everything in motherhood, but if there's a way that you can mentally heal yourself just for the sake of healing, even if you don't become a mother, if you can hear some of the stories that I'm going to share in this season, or some of the information that I've used to heal myself, it's still worth it. With that being said, coming up on this season, I have a bunch of interviews I'm super excited about. I've got a doula, I've got a breastfeeding specialist, I've got mothers, I've got pregnant women, lots of interviews. And then on top of that, I'm going to be throwing in some episodes where I share resources, ways that I healed myself and tips that will help you on your healing journey. Stay tuned. I can't wait for y'all to hear all of the episodes of this season. I wish I could just release them all in one day, but patience is a virtue. That's all for now, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to The Rooted Mama. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, supported, and a little more rooted in your own motherhood journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mama or mama-to-be. Remember, motherhood is a journey best shared, so let's keep growing together. Until next time, stay strong, stay supported, and stay deeply rooted.